Coming up next on the Giants Chronicles podcast, we recap the moves the Giants made in the first wave of the free agency period. Welcome, Giants Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Gabe, and today we are talking about the moves the Giants made in the first wave of free agency. So the Giants free agency tampering period opened on Monday, this past Monday. You guys will be seeing this on Tuesday. So it opened over a week ago, and they could start talking to players and everything. And so the Giants got to work, as every NFL team did. And the first move they made, of course, was addressing that run defense with defensive lineman Raheem Nunez Roches. So he is a defensive lineman from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to be more of a depth piece. My understanding is he's a very good run stopper, not a good pass rusher. So he's going to be someone in there and that can go in for a Leonard Williams, a Dexter Lawrence kind of to sub in. This past year was clear that the depth at D-line was not good. Justin Ellis was our rotational piece, and it resulted in Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence having to play more snaps than you should probably play your starting D lineman. Raheem, I'm trying to get this right. Raheem Roches, known as Roches. He said just call him Nacho. So we're going to just call him Nacho. Raheem Nunez Roches. So he's from Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I believe he's 30. Yep, he's 30 years old. He has played with the Chiefs. He got drafted by the Chiefs in the 2015 NFL draft. He's actually 29 years old. I think he'll be 30 when the season starts, though. And so, his whole career has been a depth defensive line rotational piece. He's kind of someone who, like I said, he stops the run really well. I mean, nothing gets by him in the run game is what he said in his presser. And so I'm excited to see, what he brings to the table there, because this past year, of course, run defense was horrendous. I mean, some of it had to do with the linebackers, which we'll get into how Shane addressed that in a couple minutes. And some of it had to do with the fact that when we put our depth D lineman in there, you just couldn't trust him. So this past year at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he played in all 17 games. He started 10. He had combined 33 tackles, 19 solo, 14 assists, and 5 tackles for loss. So not outstanding numbers, but it shows that he did stop the run when it came his way. There's tape. If you guys want to go, maybe I'll put the link in the description. Talking Giants did a film breakdown of him, and to me, he looked good. He had 2 sacks as well, and he had 1 QB hurry. He didn't play a lot of pass rushing. There's one play that really stood out to me. He has good athleticism. One play that stood out to me in particular was the Ravens game when Tampa played Ravens, and it was an RPO. Lamar Jackson takes it, and when Lamar Jackson's trying to get outside the tackle box to run, he's there, makes a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. It's a tackle for loss. That was amazing. I mean, that's what I really want to see from my D lineman. I want to see smart. That shows smart. And look, the Ravens O-line isn't great, but it isn't a joke either. I believe I believe that snap he was going against Ben Powers, who just got paid bank from Denver. That's tough, dependable, smart, tough, and dependable. Smart because he waited for the play to come to him. He knew what the play was. He read the play, and he was there when the play came to him. Now, you don't want your players just standing around, but it was almost like he read – what I'm trying to say is he read the play perfectly, right? He read that play to know it was coming to him. And when it came to him, he was there, made the play, and tackled Lamar Jackson behind the line of scrimmage. Lamar Jackson's a fast quarterback. He is no joke. So, Yeah, that was one play that stood out to me. It's a huge upgrade over our rotation of Henry Mindeau, Ryder Anderson, and Justin Ellis, who were our rotational pieces last year. So with that move, I think I've covered that pretty well. Hopefully he comes in and he brings a lot of energy. Him and Hottie together are going to be a very scary duo. So we will see what comes from that kind of duo, because they both he gets his presser and he was high energy, call me Nacho kind of thing in his opening presser. So I'm very excited to see what his personality brings to the team. Hopefully something as fun as Hottie did, which we did re-sign. Jihad Ward is who Hottie is, if you don't know. We did re-sign Jihad Ward, good leader in the locker room, someone Wink Martindale likes, basically. Wink says, as long as I'm defensive coordinator, I want Jihad Ward with me. So it was kind of obvious. I think it's around the vet minimum. They came back on a 1-year vet minimum kind of contract. So very exciting to see, good personality, good locker room leader. And, you can hear Hottie, as the B reporters tell me, you can hear Hottie from a mile away. So the next move the Giants made was signing Bobby Okereke from the Colts. I didn't know a lot. I'm going to say I didn't know a lot about him, but he was brought up to me in the free agency process. I did not cover him in the linebacker free agency preview. However, he is someone that is worth the $10 million APY he's getting. I really liked his play this past year with the Colts. Unfortunately, it didn't get as much credit as it should have, just because of how bad the Colts were. But if you remember, in that Giants-Colts game, there was one player that actually was trying on the Colts side, and that was Bobby Okereke. He was all over the field. He's a fast linebacker, sideline to sideline linebacker, middle linebacker. Mike, it's really undetermined what role he'll play for the Giants. He's played a little bit of both. I believe he's better in the middle linebacker role than the Mike linebacker, but we'll see where Wink puts him. But I'm very excited to see, this past year, he kind of reminds me of when we brought Blake Martinez in. He's a tackling machine. I mean, absolutely tackling machine. Just to give you an idea, this past year he had 151 tackles with the Colts, and the year before he had 132 tackles. So he is a tackling machine. I mean, and that's what was missing this past year, is our linebacker. Everyone looked at our run defense, and it was horrendous, yes, but it was more because of what was behind the D-line than the D-line. But, this brings a starting linebacker that can come in and be someone who you can depend on and be reliable. So the contract details actually just came out, I believe, over the weekend. So his cap hit this year is a $5 million cap hit. The following year, it's an $11 million cap hit. And then the next 2 years, it's a $12 million cap hit. So low cap hit this year, just because we are still a little cap strong this year. But we'll talk about at the end of the video where we can get some money from still to continue signing free agents. But he has a $5 million cap number this year. So overall, I give the signing by Joe Schoen a great I think he did want TJ Edwards. I still do stand by that. TJ Edwards would have been a great signing, obviously, but he really has his eyes set on Chicago. I believe he's from the area, and so I don't think the Giants ever really gave the Giants a chance. I think it was Chicago all the way, and that's where he wanted to go. So Bobby Okereke, he looked as a top linebacker in free agency. I believe he was ranked 76 or 77 on the top free agents on NFL.com. So obviously a good sign by Joe Schoen, maybe a little more than anyone thought he would get on the market. I don't know exactly. Spot Track has his market value really low, and I don't believe it's very accurate. So, but this was a good signing. I mean, he's still young. He's still only 26 years old. So he's smart. He's tough and dependable. Everything Joe Schoen wants from his players that he signs and the players he drafts. Tough, smart, tough, dependable. That's what he says. That's his phrase. And Bobby Okereke brings that. Also, Bobby Okereke, to my knowledge, he's never missed a game. He's missed his first 2 years. 2019-2020, he played 16 games and 14 games. So I don't know if it was because he was inactive or what. But these past 2 years, 2021, 2022, he had 132 tackles in 2021 and then 151 tackles this past year. And the Colts wanted him back, by the way. That's the other thing. The Colts did want him back. It was more to do with the fact that they already have so much money invested in the linebacker position with Darius Leonard, I believe it is, that they couldn't pay Bobby Okereke too. So they did want him back, but, they couldn't work it out. And now we got a solid linebacker in free agency. That was the second move on Monday night. Then we go into Tuesday, and everyone's there, everyone's sitting there, and everyone's like, wide receivers next, including me. But then that afternoon, Joe Shane made a splash, a slam dunk, blockbuster trade for tight end from the Las Vegas Raiders, Darren Waller. What a trade by Joe Shane. I mean, honestly, Darren Waller, when healthy, is a top 5 tight end in this league. He's top 5 talent tight end in this league. And it still showed this past year. This past year, it was a tough year for him. Injuries. The past 2 years were tough years for him with injuries. But I go back to that 2019 and that 2020 season, and that just shows you the potential Darren Waller has. And honestly, if he's healthy all 17 games, he is a star impact player. He is who the Giants' number 1 receiving threat will be this year. And the best part about it is we didn't go out and give up a first rounder and a third rounder for Jerry Jeudy. We went and gave up a third rounder, a comp pick that we got from the Chiefs for Kadarius Toney. That's pick 100, basically a top 4th rounder. And we flipped a player who wasn't fitting our locker room, who wasn't fitting the culture, who didn't want to learn, didn't want to practice, for a top 5 tight end in the league who's proven to be that. Now, yes, are there some injury concerns with Darren Waller? 100%. His biggest issue is, they say in the NFL, your best ability is your availability. And he, this past couple years, has not been available. That is the facts. And he's a bit on the older side. But again, Travis Kelce's 34 years old. Darren Waller's, I believe he'll be 31 this season. So he still has all that talent he did in that 2019-2020 season. People are like, when you got paid, checked out. No. I think, honestly, this past year, I don't think he really ever went well with the Raiders' new coaching staff, new front office. And I think that ended in a way that, he just didn't want to work anymore. He checked out, and he cared more about going to WNBA games and then being in the own locker room. So, there are a lot of things, but I think what he as a player really needed was a fresh start in a new scheme, a new system, someone who believes in him, someone who's going to scheme him open. I feel like the Raiders this past year didn't even do a good job at scheming him open. So we'll be very interested to see, but everyone wants to know, what effect does this have on our cap? Understandably so. So the Giants, originally he did come in with like $11 million cap when we traded for him, but of course we did restructure that contract. It was clear that needed to be done. And so while it doesn't give us the ability to get out of it after this year, if you're trading a 3rd round pick for a player, you shouldn't be scared if you can't get out of it after this year. So the Giants did address his contract, bringing his cap number down to a affordable $4 million. However, that, of course, restructuring contract pushes more money into the next year, but which I think our cap position is really good for next year. So I'm very confident that that's an okay move. Again, I think we could possibly extend him next year. If he balls out this year, if he goes out there, plays all 16 or 17 games, whatever, then I think we will be good. We will be in a position where we can give him a huge contract extension. But look, it was a good move by the Giants. Is there a risk to it? Yeah, but there's a risk with every trade in the NFL. From what I hear from Raiders fans, some Raiders fans are really upset about it. Some are like, great, we got him out of there because of his injuries. But what I'm saying is this trade is all going to come down to, is he going to be healthy for the full season or is he not? So I think the wide receiver market and the wide receiver trade market was just too rich for Joe Schoen. And I think he just, he said, look, I'm going to go out and I'm going to explore the tight end market. And he found Darren Waller, and he liked that as being the number one target for Daniel Jones this offseason. This move also, I'll get into more on why this move gives the Giants some more flexibility going into the rest of the offseason. Then they added Jeff Smith, wide receiver from the New York Jets. So Jeff Smith is, what I hear is he's more of a special. You guys remember how horrendous our special teams were this past year? I'm sure you do. He is a special teams ace, basically. He is he's a gunner, and so he'll get down the field, make a tackle kind of thing. And it also gives our punter, Jamie Gilligan, some more, a good gunner for a punter is a big weapon. So hopefully, again, I know people freaked out like, oh my gosh, this wasn't the wide receiver move everyone wanted. Everyone wanted like McCole Hardman, DJ Chark. However, this was a good move. It's a cheap move. It's like, I believe it's vet minimum deal, and he provides some special teams help. And also he can play in the receiving game. I believe he has like 452 yards over his 4 years with the Jets. He was undrafted coming out of Boston College, played quarterback. I believe played a little wide receiver in college too. And so, it's a good signing. It's a depth signing you really don't expect to see early in free agency. Depth signings usually happen a little later in free agency, but there's a very, very, very good depth signing. Probably will be like our 5th or 6th wide receiver on the roster. Then the Giants made the move everyone was waiting for, a starting caliber wide receiver, and that was signing Paris Campbell. Now, I believe this move was on Thursday. Paris Campbell is coming off his best season with the Colts. I liked him coming out of college. From Ohio State. He had no track record of injuries in college, and it looked as a slam dunk pick for the Colts when they drafted him, but the first 3 years of his career had a lot of injury problems that, like, actually they weren't just small injuries. They would keep him out for surgery. So that's where Paris Campbell ran into problems with the Colts. So he is injury prone wide receiver. And but this past year he managed to play all 17 games. He had 63 receptions for 623 yards. So, again, he's coming off his best season. Hasn't reached his ceiling yet. He's only at his floor. And Joe Schoen invested, it's a 1-year contract with a lot of incentives. So his cap number for this year is a $4.9 million. So that includes the contract signing, and it comes along with the incentives that are likely to be earned. So I believe it's like every 600 yards, 700 yards, 800 yards, incentives like that. And so look, if this pans out for the Giants, he'll come in. I think he's like a wide receiver 3, 4. He possibly could start week 1 for the Giants because you have Wandell coming off the ACL and Shep coming off the ACL, who are our 2 main slot players. So they might not be ready for week 1. So Paris Campbell could come in and possibly be our week 1 starting slot receiver. So I like the signing overall. I talked about him in our free agency preview. If you watch that episode, I said, he has familiarity with Mike Rowe, our wide receivers coach, who was the Indianapolis wide receiver coach before he came to us. And so I like the signing. I kind of had an eye on him the whole time. And look, he's a good depth signing. Again, what Joe Schoen, I think, is really doing is he's signing all these wide receivers. He also re-signed Darius Slayton to a 2-year contract, which I did not see that coming. That was a bit of a surprise to me. I for sure thought Darius Slayton was going to walk in free agency and get more. Apparently, rumor is that he did have a bigger offer from Atlanta, but he decided to come back to the Giants. So, I did not see that coming. It was a move that surprised me a little, if I'm being completely honest. However, I think what Joe Schoen's doing is we're going to have a wide receiver core again this year, and this might not be what you want to hear, of players that are solid players, but maybe not that wide receiver 1 threat. Now, we still haven't got through the draft, But Joe Schoen is setting himself up to have Darren Waller be the number one receiving threat, and then you have a wide receiver core around him that all can contribute, that all has speed. What did Joe Schoen say he wanted? He said he looked for in a wide receiver at combine. Good route running. Check. Paris Campbell and Darius Slayton both good running. Speed. Check. Darius Slayton and Paris Campbell both have great speed. And that's what he said he wanted from a wide receiver. So Paris Campbell and Darius Slayton both bring that to the table. And again, this just gives Joe Schoen the possibility to go into the draft and not have to worry about drafting a wide receiver in the first round. It gives him flexibility to go corner if he wants. Not everyone knows, but Adoree Jackson's contract is going to be up after this year. And do you really think he's the future at the cornerback position? I mean, we don't know. He could be, he could not be. So it just depends on the season he has. He has to play all 17 games, by the way, this year. Like, please play all 17 games this year. But I mean, there is uncertainty at that cornerback position, and the cornerback draft this year there's a lot of players in the cornerback draft that have that are starting caliber cornerbacks that could fall to us at pick 25. So and so in that way, I think Joe Schoen might go cornerback in the first round, but we don't know. Of course, Joe Schoen is setting himself up to not be forced to draft a wide receiver first round is basically my point is. He could go center, but we'll get into that when we start draft coverage. Right now, we're just talking about free agency. So that was Darius Slayton and Paris Campbell. That was our most recent moves for free agents. Listen. Oh, and Joe Schoen's not done, by the way. That's what I also want to say. Joe Schoen is not done. He's going to focus on filling up all the roster spots. Now he has to, focus on filling the roster with players and getting to the 90-man roster. I believe he's having a defensive lineman in today. Hold up, I'll check on. I'm trying to get his name. Hold up. He's from the Rams. He started for the Rams this past year. I believe he's coming off of a PCL injury, something PCL tear or something like that. Sean Robinson. So he's coming in for a visit today, which is Monday. And so he's a run stopper. He's not necessarily a pass rusher, but this gives the Giants the flexibility to, if worst case scenario with Leonard Williams, cut Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams has a $32 million cap hit. You have to do something with that, whether it's a restructure, it's an extension, something. But also, he gives an aspect of another rotational piece that can come in. He's one of the top defensive linemen on the market, and he's in the building today. Obviously, I think we're going to sign him. If the workout goes well, I think we would sign him. And obviously, Joe Schoen put emphasis at the combine on addressing that D lineman position, and just kind of beefing it up because it was clear he was not happy with the depth at D lineman. So hopefully we get something done with Sean Robinson. I like what he has. He was a second round pick for the Lions a couple years ago, 2016. He's still like 27 years old, so he's still pretty relatively young. And, someone who can come in and either be a starter if worse comes to worse with Leonard Williams, or he can be a rotational piece that will provide some good run stopping defense when we need to rotate Leonard Williams or Dexter Lawrence out. So we'll see what else Joe Schoen has in store. But with that, guys, this is my free agency first wave preview is coming to an end. Our first wave recap. So now we're going into the second wave of free agency. The positions I see him addressing in the next couple of weeks. Safety. We just lost Julian Love to Seattle Seahawks, which, by the way, was a bit interesting how that deal worked out. I think Julian Love overestimated his value, and then he kind of hit the market, and he was done with the Giants. The Giants offered him more than Seattle did, and he hit the market, and then I think he was like, oh, crap, the market isn't great. So I think he ran into some issues there, having to then go and try to find the best deal. And it came 2 years, $12 million with Seattle. So very interesting there. But look, I expect us to possibly address the veteran safety market. We'll find a safety in there. And Joe Shane said he liked what he liked what he saw in the veteran safety market during the combine. He said that. And so, I guess we'll see what else Joe Shane does. We just talked about Ashawn Robinson, the defensive lineman from the Rams that's visiting today. I expect some more linebackers possibly, and a cornerback, Marcus Peters, is a name to watch, has familiarity with Wink's system. Calais Campbell, again, someone who Wink loves Calais Campbell. I mean, Wink loves Calais Campbell. Jordan Ronan said that he is one of Wink's favorite players he's ever played with. So Calais Campbell is on the market, and I would expect the Giants to be interested, as Wink Martindale really does like him. So we'll see what the second wave of free agency brings, but the second wave is really where you get the best deals possible. So with that, guys, thanks for watching. Please share with your friends, subscribe if you're new, and hit the like button down below. And with that, let's go Big Blue.